Good morning, and welcome to today's meditation. I am working on different aspects of my immersion in the study of Buddhism, and as I do, I go through different phases of the study of the precepts. And of course, some things resonate more deeply with me and others less so, which is to be expected. But because we live in extraordinary times, what I'm finding is that I'm more choosy in how I spend my time and how I spend my attention, that it simply makes more sense to me to be perhaps more discerning. So on one hand, perhaps I have more time. I'm not traveling, I'm home, I'm working from home and working online. But on the other hand, it seems like because my nervous system is responding to everything that is happening around me, the social injustice issues, the coronavirus, the political climate, both here and in other places in the world, I'm finding myself perhaps somewhat impatient with things that in the past I would have more patience for. And I'm also noticing that my way of communicating has shown the impatience in it. And I'm sure I'm not alone in this predicament. I know that many people notice in themselves perhaps more irritability, and tendency to perhaps become more snappish. And so today I would like to dedicate today's practice, today's meditation to this concept, this idea of kind speech and deep listening. We're going to talk about this for just a few minutes and then go into the practice of meditation. Loving speech and deep listening. I think we can all relate to the sense of not being listened to. Not being listened to deeply, not being acknowledged with love. And I hope that we can also all relate to the experience of being held in the embrace of deep listening, of kind speech, of truly being seen, noticed, and acknowledged for what we have to offer. There is an incredible difference in how our system, our mind, body, and spirit respond to the different experience. Being deeply listened to, being spoken to with kindness, has a nourishing, rejuvenating effect on our mind, body, and spirit. And of course, not being listened to, being spoken over, not being acknowledged, has a diminishing, harmful effect on us. And of course, this is true for how we speak and how we listen or not listen to others. I want to read something very brief from Thich Nhat Hanh on loving speech and deep listening. This is what he says: aware of the suffering caused by unmindful speech and the inability to listen to others, I am committed to cultivating loving speech and compassionate listening in order to relieve suffering and to promote reconciliation and peace in myself and among other people, ethnic and religious groups and nations, knowing that words can create happiness or suffering. I am committed to speaking truthfully, using words that inspire confidence, joy, and hope. When anger is manifesting in me, I am determined not to speak. I will practice mindful breathing and walking in order to recognize and to look deeply into my anger. I know that the roots of anger can be found in my wrong perceptions and lack of understanding of the suffering in myself and in the other person. So with that in mind, I want to acknowledge the fact that speaking is not only in the spoken words, in the actual voice that sounds itself. Speaking is also in how we communicate on social media. And I've been seeing more and more posts and comments on posts that are so hurtful. Name calling, very degrading type of conversations, condescending comments. And I think we must notice that as well. And this is not to say that we do not speak our mind. I think speaking our mind is exceptionally and crucially important during this time we live in. And yet it is how you speak your mind and how you respond to comments that you perhaps find offensive or not true. How you respond to those comments also creates a hurtful conversation or possibly a beneficial one. So I'm inviting you to find a comfortable position, perhaps sitting or lying down, and then gently close your eyes. Soon the bell will sound, indicating the beginning of today's practice. Perhaps bringing first awareness to the body, where it connects with the surface on which you're lying or sitting down. Inviting a sense of support from beneath you. A grounding of the body into the surface. A connection. Simply notice. And then inviting an awareness to your breath as it is. As we bring more and more comfort and relaxation into the body, we allow the mind to become a tuned in instrument of exploration. Notice the breath, perhaps in the rise and fall of the chest, possibly in the abdomen, or maybe in the apertures of the nostrils as the air comes in, maybe colder, leaving the body warmer. Simply notice, take a moment, following your breath. As you notice the breath as it comes in and out of the body, perhaps imagine that each in-breath invites even more relaxation, and each out-breath sends relaxation throughout the body as the mind remains alert and open for reflection. Invite a wave of relaxation to begin at your feet, wherever it touches, every muscle, nerve and fiber releasing now, relaxing and softening. As relaxation moves upwards in the body, the ankles releasing, lower legs relaxing. Sense how the knees, the back of the knees soften now with relaxation. The upper legs, the back of the thighs, releasing now. The pelvis engulfed in relaxation, sinking into the surface on which you're sitting or lying down. The abdomen and lower back releasing. The chest and upper back. Each in-breath brings in even more relaxation. Each out-breath sends relaxation throughout your body and your mind. Attention goes to the shoulders now, sending waves of relaxation down the shoulders, all the way to your fingertips. Notice the neck, the throat softening with relaxation, face muscles releasing even more, inviting a gentle parting of the lips. As the body becomes relaxed, the mind open. A practice of reflection in relaxation. Perhaps you bring to mind a recent situation where you have felt the difficulty in communication, whether more personal or on social media. Perhaps someone said something that upset you. Perhaps it felt someone said something that was directed towards you. Notice in the body where you feel it. This is your guiding light. The body recognizes first the discomfort. Simply notice. And as you notice the sensation in the body, wherever it may be for you, Now notice the emotions that come up. What is it that you are feeling? Perhaps grief or anger, possibly frustration or irritability. Did it feel like a personal attack, or maybe an attack on the principle that you uphold? Or maybe simply feeling that you were disregarded? Notice the feelings, the emotions, then guide the thoughts. Let your open awareness simply register the sensation in the body, the emotions that are rising, and the thoughts that now come up in the mind. Take a moment. Perhaps your feelings, your thoughts became action. Notice the action you took. From the perspective of time, perhaps a day, perhaps a month, perhaps a year. Notice. Was the action you took beneficial? Did it feel good in your body? Did it feel correct for you? Simply exploring without judgment, with curiosity. What is the action you took or not taken, which is an action in itself? And how did it feel? With perspective. And now, without judgment, with curiosity and love for yourself, kindness for you, was there an alternative, a different scenario? Perhaps had you taken a breath at that moment to consider, had you chosen kind speech, loving communication, what would that feel like in your body? What emotions would come out? How is the perspective changing? Take a moment. Recognize that at times, even with the best intention, and what you perceive to be the kindest communication, still suffering may ensue for the person you're communicating with and for yourself. And yet, while that is true, with commitment to kindness, with commitment to true speech and deep listening, can you notice that something is different in the communication? The other side of loving speech is truly deep listening. I invite you to explore within yourself how often in a conversation are you truly listening? Or is your mind drifting, assessing, planning on what your response is going to be? Making assumptions already before the person even concluded what they had to say. The experience of deep listening, of truly being mindful and bringing yourself to that person's presence and words again and again, creates a different way of communicating. Take time for reflection on your way of listening, on your way of communication, and perhaps from that time, make a promise to yourself for what needs to change. As I grow silent in reflection. What is the experience like of deeply listening, of loving speech, especially when it pertains to those we deeply disagree with, to those who trigger us in many ways, in person, on the phone, online. What would that look like for you? How would that feel in your body? What emotions rise? What thoughts lead you into what action? Take a moment in reflection. Remember, this does not mean not taking a stand, not expressing yourself. You may find that when you come from this place of deep listening and loving speech, there is a better chance of you being heard and listened to. Can you see that by doing so, you are reducing suffering for yourself, hopefully for others? Can we have the intention of not using words that cause discord, that cause division? There is so much of that all around us. Can we choose words that are unifying, that are harmonizing, that bring us together across the huge divide of political views, of personal beliefs, of what we feel is truly important, while speaking our mind, while standing up for justice, while staying true to ourselves? What would that feel like? What would that look like? Take a moment. Let us take together a vow, a promise to ourselves, for this to be the intention of our communication. Deep listening and loving speech. Deep listening and loving speech. Place your hands on your heart space, and perhaps in your mind or out loud, if it resonates with you, with me, think or say, deep listening and loving speech. Deep listening and loving speech. And as you release the arms, turn for your beautiful breath for a moment. Allow the breath to go deep in the body, in and out, slow and steady. In a moment, the bell will sound, indicating the completion of today's practice. If you have watched with me, thank you for being here right now. If you're taking time later, let me know. Kindly leave me a note. I appreciate you greatly. As we come to the completion of today's practice, and you can bring movement into your body, returning to your day or evening or night, whenever you take time. Or you can stay in an open awareness, reflecting, taking more time for yourself. Until we meet again, thank you for being here.